Lots of urgent issues discussed here, but with the helicopter approaching, one little bit of housekeeping. Is it true that you are leaving the White House to work for MSNBC?
Well, you can't get rid of me yet, Ed. I have nothing to confirm about my length of public service or planned service or anything about consideration about next plans. I'm very happy to be standing with all of you here today after it felt like a never-ending, endless time in my basement, quarantining away from my family. Believe it or not, I missed you all a lot. And my focus every day continues to be speaking on behalf of the president, answering your questions, as tough as they may be at many times, as difficult as they may be to answer at many times. And I hope that I meet my own bar of treating everybody with fairness and being equitable.
And just because this has been raised by our colleagues, by people who are observing this process, is it ethical for you to continue conducting this job while negotiating with a media outlet?
Well, I have always gone over and above the stringent ethical and legal requirements of the Biden administration, and I take that very seriously. And as a standard for every employee of the White House, I have received rigorous ethics counseling, including as it relates to any future employment. I've complied with all ethics requirements and gone beyond and taken steps to recuse myself from decisions as appropriate. And so I hope that all of you, I've been working with all of you some time, would judge me for my record and how I treat all of you, both in the briefing room and otherwise. And I try to answer questions from everybody across the board. I know everybody in the back of the room may not always be pleased with me, but I try my best, and I will certainly continue to do that. Okay, go ahead.
Are you good?
Yes,
Follow?
go ahead, Chris.
Jen, given the reports, which have now been confirmed by multiple media outlets, how can you continue to be an effective briefer if you do in fact have plans to join a media outlet?
Well, I have nothing, again, to announce about any conversations or any future plans. And at whatever time I leave the White House, I can promise you the first thing I'm going to do is sleep and spend time with my 3- and 6-year-old, who are my most important audiences of all. But I would say, Kristen, that again, I have taken the ethics, legal requirements to the highest, very seriously in any discussions and any considerations about any future employment, just as any White House official would. And I have taken steps beyond that to ensure there's no conflicts.
And I understand what you're saying, but I guess the question is, how is it ethical to have these conversations with media outlets while you continue to have a job standing behind that podium?
Well, there are a range of stringent ethical and legal requirements that are imposed on everybody in this administration and many administrations past about any conversations you're having with future employers. That is true of any industry you're working in, and I have abided by those and tried to take steps to go beyond that as well.
And broadly speaking, is it the policy of this White House to allow staffers to have discussions, even if indirectly, with institutions that impact and affect their jobs and your job here?
Well, it is the policy of this White House to ensure that anyone who is having conversations about future employment does so through consultation with the White House counsel's office and ensuring they abide by any ethics and legal requirements. And those are conversations that I have taken very seriously and abided by every component of. Oh, okay. So when we go to Serena, we can go, and then we can wrap.
Thank you, Jen. Can
You said you missed
reports
us.
that the U.S. has been
Okay. I know it may be that people who may have to see the president depart, and I don't want to hold anyone back, but I also am happy to answer your question and a couple of others if people want to stay. But if people need to, are they gathering right now? Sorry to interrupt your train of thought here.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can you confirm reports that the U.S. has been providing Ukraine with protective equipment such as gas masks, hazmat suits, and other materials against a possible chemical weapons attack from Russia?
So the United States and members of the international community have, of course, repeatedly warned about the potential for Russia to use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine, and that Moscow is possibly planning a false flag operation. In an effort to assist our Ukrainian partners, the U.S. government is providing the government of Ukraine with life-saving equipment and supplies that could be deployed in the event of Russia Russia's use of a chemical and biological weapon against Ukraine. It does not compromise our domestic preparedness in any way, shape, or form, just for everybody's awareness, but we are providing it as we are providing a range of materials and equipment.
Just one quick question on another subject. The House passed a bill today that would remove marijuana from the federal schedule of controlled substances. Every Democrat, save for 2, voted in favor of this bill. Does the president support the legislation?
Well, first let me say that, as the president said during the campaign, our current marijuana laws are not working. He agrees that we need to rethink our approach, including to address the racial disparities and systemic inequities in our criminal justice system, broaden research on the effects of marijuana, and support the safe use of marijuana for medical purposes. We look forward to working with Congress to achieve our shared goals, and we'll continue having discussions with them about this objective. Jackie, go ahead.
Thank you, Jen.
Oh, okay, we've got to wrap up in a second here, and then I'll go to Karen. Okay, so there, you guys got to wrap. I'm sure we will get you let us get you a thorough comment on that. I will say, as the president conveyed in his announcement yesterday, certainly working with the global community to ensure we are meeting the supply shortages in the global community at this time is part of our effort to reduce gas prices for Americans, given it's a global oil market. So this is part of that, and we will get you a more comprehensive. I am here and in my office if you guys have quick questions.
Question on inflation.
Sure.
Real quick. Today, the president blamed Putin's invasion of Ukraine for not just higher gas prices, but also higher food prices. Inflation was at 7.4% in January before the invasion. In February, it went up to 7.9%. Putin didn't invade until the 24th. So March is really going to show the impact of the invasion. And that report doesn't even come out until April 12th. So how are people supposed to believe the Putin price hike is to blame for food prices going up when the timeline doesn't add up?
Well, here's what the president is reflecting on. One, the price of gas has gone up by approximately $1 or more since Putin started lining up troops at the border. This is something that outside economists have spoken to as well, not just the administration, and those are just factual details about how much the price of gas has gone up. We know that's a huge impact, and when you say inflation, people think the costs on their pocketbook and the impact on their budgets. The second piece on the availability of food, we know that different markets around the world are impacted by the lack of production in Ukraine and because of the war, and we know that could impact global food prices.
This is the first time we've heard the president blame Putin for higher food prices.
I think what the president's looking at is what the impact has been in a lot of areas that are leading to price increases on people's pocketbooks, and where we could see it increasing over the course of time. I'm here in my office. I see you all.